Hey everybody, you got Dan here from 5WideFootball, and we're joined as always by NoName from the Hub for the fantastic Giants. You want to give a shout out?
What's up, everybody? How you doing? This is like, I don't know what episode number, but the Fantastic Giants. We've been doing it for months now, going strong. Hope you guys tune in. Hope you sub up 5 Wide. Hope you go over to my place, sub me up, and hope you guys enjoy it. I mean, it is a dry news cycle, but we always find something to talk about.
Yeah, we always do. We were just looking at Giants Wire, talking about if Nate Soldier is the worst move in the past decade. And we decided that Jerry Reese had a few bad moves, so that might be tough to pin down
Exactly.
just one. Hey, I just wanted to quickly say I just tweeted the link out. If you want to as well, maybe we can get some people in here live asking some questions.
I'm actually waiting for the tweet to pop up. Okay, I see it, and I'm going to retweet.
All right, there. I got us
I'm also
live.
going to make a post on my community notes and YouTube. Let's see. Is that a dog in your background?
She's actually in front of me playing with her toy, but yeah, that's what you can hear.
Okay, I was like, it sounds like a squeaky toy, but I'm not sure if it's a kid or
oh yeah, it's a squeaky toy. It's a dog. No, my daughter's asleep. She goes to bed real early, so she's in bed by like 7.
Oh really?
That's what the little ones do when they're about a year old. They go to bed pretty early. Hope is that they stay asleep the whole time.
That's what the challenge is.
All right, so I think we can get into our little debate. Like we were talking, worst Giants moves of the past decade. Maybe some people will hop on and they can give us some ideas too. I was making the case that it might be the Eric Flowers draft.
Mm-hmm. Eric Flowers is definitely somebody to consider for that. Oh, were you gonna say somebody else right after him?
No, I was going to ask if you had anybody different.
I mean, honestly, it would be hard to have somebody different other than Eric Flowers, considering that he was rightfully the Giants' whipping boy for about, like 4 years or so. And I say rightfully because he was a terrible draft pick. But then there's also like Eli Apple could be up there. And then when you consider free agent signings, obviously, I think the Olivier Vernon one, it only worked out for about the first year he was here, and then he was always injured. He couldn't stay healthy, and that's why. And look at him now; he's basically out of a job. He went from being one of the highest paid defensive ends / pass rushers that had a good first year, admittedly, but then couldn't stay healthy and just is not good anymore. You could consider that one.
Yeah, but they got him young, and he had a really good. He wasn't terrible with the Giants. And
he was good for like the first year, and then like just after that, he just could not stay healthy. 2017, I think. I don't know if it was 2017, but I remember 2018, his last year here. He if he stayed healthy that full year, he probably would have stayed with the Giants.
Oh yeah,
right.
He was killing it.
The reason I'm tossing him up there though is just because the money. Even if he was healthy, he was not worth that money.
I mean, his first year, he had a lot of tackles and stuff, and they got him young. He's only 29 now, so when they got him, they probably thought he was still going to keep improving.
That's true. They were like, he's just entering his prime. We'll see what we got.
Yeah, because defensive ends can play a while, like we've saw with Michael Strahan, obviously, and we saw with. You name it. There's been a few guys there. Jason Pierre-Paul's still in the league doing okay, and he blew off part of his hand. Yuman Yora had a pretty good long career. Justin Tuck was relevant for a while. So, I mean, there's definitely it's not a position like running back, or sometimes you see with offensive line where I feel like the drop off is super quick.
It's definitely one of those positions, kind of like quarterback. If you could stay healthy, you're going to have a long career. And by the way, let me know if my mic is okay, because last night when I did a stream, the mic I usually use for streams, which is this dude right here on my gaming headset, just died on me. So I'm actually using my recording mic, which is off to the side, and I'm not used to that setup yet, for streaming at least.
It sounds fine. I'm not hearing any issues.
All right, nice.
Is my mic sounding okay and everything?
Yours sounds fine as usual. But speaking of defensive ends and staying healthy, what's up with Clowney? General NFL here. Clowney is still, I mean, is it really that much of a big story anymore? But it's kind of getting to the point where it's like, okay, Cam just got signed a couple of days ago, about a week ago. Cam finally got signed. He was on the market for way longer than he should have been. Clowney's kind of in the same boat. He's been on the market for way longer than he should have been. And he's kind of holding up every other signing. You talk about Everson Griffin signing. You talk about the Giants' very own Marcus Golden, which still makes no sense that no other team wants him. But he's not going to get signed, if at all, until Clowney does, which means he's probably just going to come back on the Giants for a very cheap deal. What's up? What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, unless the Giants get Clowney, then they are going to get Marquise Golden cheap, which is fine with me. My thoughts, I'm confused because I kept saying, like, once they started opening things up and he could get in and get his physical, that he would get signed with someone. I know he's demanding a lot of money.
Which still kind of makes no sense. It's like conflicting reports, right? You hear a lot of reports saying, oh, his want for monetary want has come down a lot. It's like somewhere around 13 million, which would be a bargain for Clowney. And it's like if he started out with realistic expectations instead of demanding 20 plus mil, he probably would have been signed already.
And that's probably 100% true, because probably the teams that really needed a defensive end, and I think there was some others. I'm trying to remember some of the guys that got signed that people are surprised were signed before Clowney got signed.
Were there guys at his position that got signed before him?
I could have swore defensive ends free agency. I could have swore there was a couple guys that did, and I think a large part of it was because how much he was demanding. So, like, has Shaquille Barrett signed yet?
I mean, Shaq Barrett, I think everybody knew was going to re-sign with the Bucks. So I think that was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Okay. And then Yannick is still like fighting for it, right?
He's yet to be traded. Yeah, they haven't traded him yet.
He's a restricted free agent, and he wants out. I'm looking here. Armstead, he signed, right? He re-signed.
Eric Armstead?
Yeah.
Which one? One of them was traded and one of them re-signed. So I can't remember which one was which.
Yeah. So he's still on the 49ers. So it's like those. I guess a lot of them re-signed. With the
like re-signing doesn't really surprise me versus signing with a new team.
Yeah. That's true. Well, what was I going to say? Fowler left. Dante Fowler went to the Falcons.
That was early on in free agency, though, around the time where like I don't consider that surprising that he got signed before Jadeveon Clowney did, because when he went to the Falcons, he wasn't like, people just consider him a safer option at this point. He's younger. It happened during the thick of free agency where like everybody gets signed. So I don't know. I just don't consider that surprising.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, Clowney could have been signed when these guys were signed if he wasn't demanding so much money. So some of these teams might have looked at Clowney and been like, I'm going to go with Fowler. I'm just going to re-sign Armstead. I'm just, I know Yannick wants out, but let's re-sign him because.
Has he been re-signed?
Let's keep him because you're right. Yeah. He's a restricted free agent. Mm-hmm. My bad. So let's just keep him. Let's not try to trade him because Clowney's a fortune, and we're not going to get Clowney. We're not going to pay him that type of money. So I think
the Jags are actually, speaking of the Jags, I like what they have done with the whole Yannick situation. They've really, to be honest, Yannick is the one that looks crazy here. The Jags have taken a pretty good, calm, cool stance on it. They've said, all right, bro, you don't want to be here. We'll try and shop you or some along those lines. They haven't exactly been denying him what he wants because they're ready to move on. They got Josh Allen last year, who had a really great rookie year, very much overshined by Nick Bosa, but you could argue Josh Allen had a way better rookie year than Nick Bosa did. And then they took who, in my opinion, was the second best pass rusher in this year's draft, and K'Lavon Chaisson, a speed rusher out of LSU that matches up really well alongside Josh Allen and will match up really well for that Jaguars defense. So they're already running full steam ahead with their replacements in place of Clowney and 2 first-round picks that look to produce in the future.
Yeah, and
without Ngakoue, I said Clowney, I think.
Yeah, you did say Clowney, but we knew what you said. And the rumor is that the Bills might be interested.
Really? Who do the Bills have at pass rusher right now?
They have some guys, and I'm drawing a blank. They lost a guy.
They lost. Did they lose Alexander?
No. Who did they lose? Defensive ends, Bills. They I thought they Bills trade. They lost. Who did they lose? This is bothering me. This is why we need some people to come on so they can give us a hand.
Yeah.
Bills defensive ends did they lose? I think they might have lost. Yeah, they lost Shaq Lawson.
Shaq Lawson, yeah, that's who they had.
See, I knew
Shaq Lawson, he was like, pretty average pass rusher. He was definitely pretty average. I wouldn't give him I don't know. I don't want to say he was great. He was good. The Bills defense definitely speaks for itself.
Yeah, he was on a good defense. He's a high prospect coming out of college, and he produced, but nothing jumping off the page. But so the Bills, the Bills have to replace him, and I knew that they had I just couldn't remember who it was.
They're running a 4-3 or a 3-4.
The Bills defense? Oh, jeez, I'm not even sure.
Because I'm just thinking for some reason about their pick last year, Ed Oliver, who could run in both. He could run as a pass rusher in the 4-3 and as a inside lineman in the 3-4.
Yeah, but what's going to happen with these DWI in the gun?
That's true. I mean, hey man, listen, I don't know how that's going to turn out, to be honest with you, but I feel like he might get off. I just have a feeling he might get off. Pretty good lawyers in the NFL.
I don't think he's going to get anything major. It sounds like it's not uncommon out in the middle of nowhere. He had a hunting rifle.
That's what because I didn't even, if it was a hunting rifle, I don't expect anything. That's pretty commonplace in upstate New York.
He was actually in Texas at the time, though.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know with the hunting habits of Texas then.
But the drunk driving's a big part. Ed Oliver arrest. But yeah, I'm almost positive that it was a hunting rifle. May 19th, DWI, and they were saying it was just not. Oh no, it was a small caliber pistol. Okay.
Where did hunting rifle come from? Some other NFL player out here?
I think that I think that I heard that before, and it turned out
probably before all the details came out.
Yeah, people are like, oh, he's living in upstate New York. He's out in the middle of nowhere in Texas. Everybody hunts, everybody drinks. I hope they don't all drive.
The one Alger Rosas situation, which I still don't know why he hasn't been cut yet. A lot more of a straightforward situation. And when you consider hit and run, DUI, trying to get away from the scene of crime, suspended license, that's a lot more straightforward than anything else.
And he's a kicker. So, yeah. I mean, so if you're...
he's a lot more expendable.
Yeah, if you're the Bills, Ed Oliver is a great player. He's going to, or at least he had a very good rookie year. He's going to get suspended by the NFL
probably not even for probably I'd say at most 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. So
at most.
But if he's missing 4 games, you're not cutting him or looking to move on. But you're not carrying 2 kickers for 4 weeks. If you're the Giants. Here, let me try to take away that squeaky toy. Can you hear that pretty loud?
It's not extremely loud. It's just kind of in the background.
So, I mean, if you you're not going to carry a kicker for 4 weeks if that's what Rosa gets. You're not going to carry 2 kickers.
No, Rosas, he's going to get way more because he's looking at probably 2 or 3 felonies.
Yeah, that's right. He was fleeing the scene of an accident.
Yeah.
What'd they say? He was going 90? 100?
He was on 100.
100, resisting arrest.
Suspended license.
Yeah. So
he's facing multiple felonies. So if there is going to be a suspension, and the only way there is going to be a suspension is if he somehow gets off, which I don't expect him to because he's facing multiple felonies. But for the sake of the conversation, if he gets off, it's going to be like a whole season suspension.
And you're not going to carry 2 kickers for a season.
Exactly.
You might carry 2 defensive ends if you've got Ed Alver. Or not 2 defensive ends, obviously. You already got 5 or 6 on your depth chart. You might carry a 7th defensive end if you have Ed Alver because of the talent. You might be like, all right, so he's suspended.
Way higher talent and way less, I guess, just less intense of a crime, if that makes any sense.
And a more important position.
Exactly.
And speaking about suspensions and stuff like that, and I mean, as Giants fans, we already know they're a questionable organization, I guess would be the nice way to say it. But how have the Eagles not suspended Deshaun Jackson?
I mean, well, you got to think about it. This is the same organization with Riley Cooper when he said what he said a few years back. They gave him a $20 million extension. So I'm not surprised that when another player messes up like this, that they haven't exactly done anything yet. I'm not saying that they're going to give him an extension or anything, but just the history of the Eagles and with players saying these things and examples of players being racist in both Riley Cooper and Deshaun Jackson. Are you surprised? I'm not completely surprised. I'm not even surprised what I'm about to say. I was going to say what I am surprised by, but I'm not, is the way the media coverage of Deshaun Jackson has been lacking and how they're picking and choosing certain stories to show. How is it that the day this happened, the leading story was not Deshaun Jackson? It took them like 2 days before it really came out. And the only NFL reporter on Twitter I saw talking about it when it happened was Adam Schefter. If it wasn't for Adam Schefter, I wouldn't have a clue what happened.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was not covered to the level that it should have been. And you make a great point. It's very similar to the Riley Cooper thing. And the Eagles didn't suspend him. Mm-hmm. They didn't release the fine amount, which makes me believe that it wasn't anything substantial. Because if they had fined him something really substantial, everybody and their brother would have heard about it. Mm-hmm. And then you're right.
I don't care about
later signed him to an extension.
For me, and this is just obviously is going to be subjective to each person, I think he should have been cut. I'm not looking for a suspension. I think he should have been cut. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just really disgusting. You look at the comments of his post and whatnot, everybody's like, oh, but he's not wrong. I'm like, this is what you get when you don't pay attention in history class and whatnot. I'm like, I understand the dude was reading Mein Kampf, which is actually a pretty good read. If anybody ever that's into history and wants to learn about history and wants to learn about getting into the mind of somebody like, I'm not going to say the dude's name out of fear of getting demonetized on YouTube, getting inside the mind of a dictator like that to see what in the world they were thinking at the time, what they were doing, pick up the book. But also what you got to realize is while there's some truth to what he's saying in some stuff in the book, a lot of it is also propaganda because that's how we got control of the country in the first place, through heavy use of propaganda. So it's like people just don't know their history and then they go out and make assumptions.
And some of the quote that he put up, one of the quotes that he put up was actually not even a Hitler quote. Mm-hmm. I said the name. Damn it.
Yeah.
Hopefully YouTube doesn't come at me. Crap. This is live. I can't even edit it out.
Yeah. Let's just move past it. Like, hopefully it was just once and they won't pick it up.
Yeah. So, but what I was going to say is that part of the things he posted weren't even quotes by this horrible dictator.
Yeah. So there was one about World War III, planting the seeds. And I'm just like, that's just modern day propaganda and crazy talk. It's like,
yeah. And I think the big thing that bothers me is I kind of agree or disagree a little bit, and let's not get too political after this. So I'm just going to speak my piece that I think sometimes the NFL oversteps in monitoring their players and their players' speech and things like that. But he doesn't even seem sorry.
He's not.
His apology was, "I'm sorry if you."
It was exactly that whole thing. He's not. This is the perfect example of sorry for being caught or sorry for I guess people realizing what you actually did rather than being sorry for doing it. He 100% does not. His apology, the video apology I'm talking about, you can see it in just his demeanor, the way he was speaking. He was doing it so that he doesn't get any type of real punishment. Like, you could tell.
Yeah. It was probably like the Eagles were like, hey, apologize or we're going to fine you an extra 500,000 or something. And he's like,
And I said I wasn't surprised that the Eagles didn't do anything because of the Riley Cooper situation a few years back, but their ownership and their GM are Jewish. So, I mean, take that for what you will.
and it's
like, I'm surprised. Part of me is surprised that they didn't do anything because they're Jewish and he spoke out against the Jewish community. And then part of me is not surprised, once again, because of what happened with Riley Cooper a few years back.
I think they painted themselves into a corner with what they did with Riley Cooper, but it's a different time now too. Like, this has been,
I mean, you can. I'm not sure how much of that you could really argue that it's a different time because it's only been a few years.
but
You could argue that there's more pressure on them, and then it's like, how genuine are the Eagles' actions? Are they giving in to the pressure? Are they doing it because of the pressure? Or are they doing it because it's the right thing to do? Which
and
nobody
that's
can
why
really judge.
They painted themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
Because if they go too hard on Deshaun Jackson, it almost tells the black community that they are not as important to the Eagles ownership as the Jewish community.
Exactly.
is.
And the only way I can see them even moving forward, and I'm no expert, so I could be completely wrong, is for them, if they do something like either suspend or cut him, they must also acknowledge that they messed up with Riley Cooper. They have to do that because people are going to bring it up.
And I would almost say what they should do, and if they were to do something like that, if I was their PR person, which I'm not a PR expert, I would say you take the money that you fine Deshaun Jackson. So you're like, hey, we're going to cut you. We're going to take X amount of your money away because we can. And you give that money to communities near and dear to inner city or advancement of African Americans. Something like the NAACP or something like the Boys and Girls Club or YMCA of Philadelphia. Because you say, we messed up with Riley Cooper, so as an apology, we're going to take this $1 million we saved that we're not paying to Deshaun Jackson or whatever it is, and we're going to donate that to charities for the African American community, and we're cutting Deshaun Jackson because of what he said to the Jewish community. I think that's the only way they play it out now. And
that's not going to happen just because they're the Eagles.
Yep. Hey, we got somebody here. We got Edward Chan.
Edward Chan. Oh, really? What is up, Edward? Edward is actually from my channel. One of my best supporters. Always tunes into all my streams, bro. Edward, how you doing, man? Small Q&A. If you got any questions, post them. We actually just got finished talking about Deshaun Jackson and the Eagles and whatnot. Let me see. When I switch over to live comments, it doesn't show, so I have to actually pull up the stream side by side this call. But what I wanted to get into next is did you just say not good?
That should say good. I'm gonna delete that.
I'm like, hold up. Anyway, the next thing I want to get into is it's still NFC East related, and since we're talking about NFC East teams that messed up, Washington and their whole fiasco. What do you think about that?
I think that they should have changed their name a long time ago. I think that it's plain and simple. I think that there's not really an argument because, and I know people will say like Florida State is the Seminoles, and
the thing is though, right? The Seminoles is the actual name of that group.
Yeah, it's not a derogatory.
It's not exactly.
The Cleveland Indians are the Indians. The Braves are. They have
that's an adjective,
and they do a tomahawk. It's Indian based, but that's a compliment. I feel like if someone came out and said my people were brave, I would take that as a compliment.
Exactly. Exactly. And the whole thing with the Cleveland Indians is that I was iffy on this when they changed their logo because people were arguing it could be considered a caricature. I'm like, all right, that's kind of iffy, but if you do change it, I don't know how I feel about them changing it to a giant C instead of just maybe a less offensive type of face of a chief. Like, if there's one thing I can give Washington, is that their logo is probably the most respectful thing about that. It's actually modeled after a specific chief, and it looks like a real life representation of one of I forget the chief's name. But yeah, that's one thing I can give Washington.
And you know, they should have fixed it years ago. Somebody comes in, enough people are upset about it, and you straight up say, what was it? You say we're wrong, and we change it. And if you are, like you're saying, a history buff, what the Europeans did to the Native Americans when they came here was horrific.
It's
absolutely horrific.
One of the worst examples of genocide in all of world history, if not the worst.
I say we because I've got European descent, but they almost eliminated an entire race of people for no real reason, you know. And so Edward Chan just piped up and he said 50 players from the NFL say that Saquon is the best back.
You know, we'll get into that after we finish this, Edward. But that's a good thing you bring up. I saw that today, and I was like, I wouldn't say I wasn't surprised. I was just like, I thought this was common knowledge. Maybe that's just the Giants bias in me. I was like, oh, I thought that was common knowledge. But we could get into it after, Edward. I'll finish. You could finish up your thought there, Dan.
Hey, dude, just my thought was that what we did historically, what was done to the Native Americans here is unbelievable. And the minute a large percentage of them say that they're offended, they should have brought in the Native American chiefs, some Native American tribal leaders, and just said, this is our history of this organization. We would like to stay associated with Indians, with Native Americans. Here's some names. Which ones aren't offensive?
Exactly. That's actually, I think that was the solution that I gave in my vid addressing it. I was like, they should speak to the AIBL, which is the American Indigenous Business League, I think, who was with, and this is where it gets iffy, because they actually worked with the AIBL back in '71 when they changed from the what was their name? I think their name was also the Washington Brave, and then they changed it to the Washington Redskins in '71, and they actually worked hand in hand with the AIBL, which is a lot of people's arguments for against changing it again, because it was something that they did consult tribes, they did consult Native Americans, they actually consulted the right people for it, and it was approved. Then again, it was a different time. Who knows? People are definitely offended now, and it's 100% a derogatory term. But you would be surprised that there's actually a good amount of natives out there that are not offended by it, and that are very outspoken that they're not offended by it. So that's why my solution was exactly the same as yours. I'm like, go back to the AIBL and consult with them again and see what's up. Or just, and for Redskins fans, the quote unquote diehard Redskins fans that are actually not diehards, because they're like, if the name changes, I'm not going to support the team anymore. Like, do you support the team or do you support the name? But I guess to please the diehard fans, go back to the Brave. Nobody can complain about that, because that was actually the name of the team beforehand.
And you know, my response to some people aren't offended is like, some people aren't offended by certain things that offends other people. It depends on your life and what's happened to you. You know what I mean? And I've had that conversation with my wife about things, and she's like, you know, it's because it's probably like you're probably not offended by certain terms because no one has said that term to you in a way that has made you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Edward, for that, I mean, it depends. Different reasons, man. Different reasons. I know one of the biggest reasons, if you're talking about it from a business perspective, would be that you get rid of that name. You get rid of a good amount of business because of what the name is associated with when you talk about in terms of the football organization. There's definitely going to be a financial drawback from that. You talk about what we were just discussing, why people care about it. And then there's the guys kind of like me that are on the fence, and I'm like, consult with the right people and see what's up.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
And they care so much back and forth because like FedEx doesn't want to do business now with the Redskins.
And Nike actually took down their jerseys from the Nike website. There are no Washington jerseys or they were no. I don't know if they put them back up, but back when FedEx made the statement, Nike took down. You know how much revenue that is? The official sponsor of the uniforms.
I'm going to guess hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. I mean, the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, but I do want to get back now to the Saquon Barkley thing, and I think the only reason why this is even in conversation is because Christian McCaffrey is coming off top 5 running back season of all time.
Of all time, yeah. I was about to say, was he top 5 last year? I was like, of course he was top 5 last year, but of all time.
I was trying to figure where, I'm like, is it top?
It has to be, right? It has to be considered top 5 of all time.
Yeah,
nobody else has done that. Like people have argued Kamara. I think Kamara out of his rookie year or his second year also had 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving, but McCaffrey had 1,500 rushing or very close to that. He was not like Kamara was not in the conversation for Kamara was not in the conversation for rushing leader. McCaffrey was actually in the conversation for rushing leader until the very end of the NFL. He had like basically 1,500 rushing and 1,000 receiving, and that's unheard of.
Yeah,
100%. And I actually and I've actually made a video on this, my top 5 running backs list. As of right now, Christian McCaffrey is my number 1 running back in the NFL, and the reason was that season combined with the fact that Saquon is coming off an injury. And I was ranking them based off of last year's performance. And I was like, not a lot of people disagree with me just because it was a historic year for McCaffrey. But I fully expect Saquon to take that crown of number 1 running back this year.
Yeah, and I agree. I think he's going to take it. I think he's a really good talent. I'm sorry, I'm seeing stuff going in. Hey, guys, we don't really want to get too political with this. So I see.
Yeah, I agree with Edward.
Watching.
So. I agree with Edward. We politely disagree, or we politely ask you to stop. I don't know.
Yeah, just we don't want to turn this into a political debate. We spoke our mind. I feel like we were very civil about it. We didn't attack anyone for disagreeing. So I see Trump as king is no longer watching. I'm just asking that in the future, if you do come back, please. And based on his name, I feel like he's probably a troll. Please don't try to turn this into a political argument. We were very respectful and just stating why we thought it made sense for the Redskins to change their name. And Barkley is just going back to Barkley versus McCaffrey. I feel like Barkley's upside is just so high.
It's way higher. I think it's way higher than McCaffrey.
McCaffrey had the perfect storm in a lot of ways. And I know people will say, yeah, but his rushing yards might not have been as good as it could have been because of the talent not being that great in Carolina last year and Cam being injured and stuff. But it also benefited his receiving numbers. So I think it's a wash.
The thing about his receiving numbers, I was actually going to say I'm more impressed with his receiving numbers because he had somebody like Kyle Allen throwing him the football.
Yeah, and it was, but at the same time, Kyle Allen's gonna check down a lot to the running back more than he's gonna push the ball deep. Like Cam Newton's probably not checking down to a running back. He had over 100 receptions 2 years ago too. But
what Edward just said is actually why I think Barkley's gonna take the crown next year. It's why I've been arguing that Saquon is gonna be. I think he's gonna be a heavy candidate for MVP legitimately. Talking about the carries and receptions that he had, Saquon Barkley has never even touched close to 300 carries in a season. Dallas Cowboys, when Garrett was over there, whether it's one running back like DeMarco Murray or Ezekiel Elliott or a group of running backs, they always get that running back room 300 carries at least. I think Saquon's going to hit 300 carries, and he's going to have just rushing alone at least 1,500 yards next year. Because you talk about 1,300 off of 261, I think, his rookie year. Add 40 more carries to that, he's easily breaking 1,500 yards. 700 yards receiving off of like 80 or 90 receptions. He can get to 1,000 with just a little over maybe 110 receptions.
Oh no, I 100% agree. And he also got way more targets. He got 70 more targets for receptions.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, yeah. I think that the Panthers might run CMC into retirement too.
If I'm CMC, I'm honestly like, whenever I get the chance, I'm legitimately looking to get traded because it's, I don't know if I would say it's like the Lev Bell situation, but it's very similar where he is at the top of his game and he is, considered the best back in the league. And Pittsburgh was definitely going to run Lev Bell into the ground, but with CMC, I don't know if he has the durability that Bell did. I don't know. I just feel like he'll be running into the ground easier. He has a very small back. I think people forget that he's pretty small.
But he just signed an extension.
I forgot about that. He just signed the extension.
Made him 4 years, $64 million.
Yeah, it was like highest or second highest contract for running back in history. And what's up to Engraven Vids? Yo, shout out to Engraven for tuning in, man. He's a great content creator. He's a Ravens fan, primarily covers the Ravens, but he also does great general NFL stuff. Go over there and subscribe to him, man. He's a really great dude. I'm hoping to have him on my channel tomorrow, actually. So shout out to Engraven for tuning in, man.
So Engraven Vids, then, who do you think, as a neutral person, who would you rather have for the next 3 years, let's say, Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley?
Or whoever else you might throw in there.
Yeah, I don't want to. He might throw in Dobbins just because that's who they got.
Nah, I think he's pretty realistic. But if we're talking about, he said Barkley. Yeah, I can respect it. Like, if Saquon, listen, man, once again, the only reason I had CMC ranked above my dude, like, Saquon Barkley is my favorite player in the NFL right now, and I pull no punches with that. But the only reason I had CMC above him is last year, at least, was CMC had the better season. Like, by far, he had one of the most historic seasons, and Saquon was just injured. But he's taking that back this year, man. He should be taking back that crown this year.
And for anyone who listens to this later, we're not insulting CMC in any way. There's not a huge difference. He's an unbelievably talented back.
Yeah, they were both drafted by Dave Gettleman. I always find that hilarious. They were both drafted by Dave Gettleman back to back. Dude has an eye for running backs, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and CMC is already, in 3 years, he's had 2 seasons of over 1,000 rushing yards, 2 seasons of over 100 catches. He's a very talented player. So I'm happy to see that everybody, though, is saying that the upside and the talent edge goes to Barkley. I think that's right. The guy's an actual freak, where CMC is a great athlete, but he is he benefits, I think, a little bit from having his father played in the NFL and just knowing how, like, he runs really good routes for a running back, and his father was a receiver in the NFL. So I just think he got that special training.
And I'm gonna bring up once again, though, CMC is very small, so I do worry about his durability. And Engraven actually brings up some similar, I guess. He says the reason he says Barkley is because he can be used more effectively as a runner, and I agree with that. Barkley is a better runner. I know running backs wear down easily, but with CMC, they use him so much in the passing game, I feel like he'll wear out faster. And that's probably what I was trying to say earlier. In addition to his size, remember earlier I was like, I just feel like CMC is going to have a short career with the way the Panthers are using him. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was, but they use him. It's just that they use him a lot. He's using almost every single play.
And he's being, they're running those passes out to the wings and stuff where you don't get as much of that defenseless receiver as when you're cutting across. So he's getting hit by these outside linebackers and these defensive ends hard. And
the thing about Barkley, and I don't know how much I've been trying to say this on channel a little bit more, Barkley is going to last longer in the NFL than people realize because of his running style. He doesn't run like Zeke does. He's not a power rusher, and he doesn't try to be one, even though he very well could be. He's by far the strongest running back in the league. I think people forget the dude broke weightlifting records at Penn State. Not just for football players, across the board. He just broke weightlifting records, period.
He was lifting more than squat.
He was lifting more than Penn State's official weightlifters, the competitors for that sport. He was breaking records for that. People forget about that. He's a big dude. He's a strong dude. He's by far the strongest running back in the league. But he runs agile. He runs swift. And he runs with that quickness. That's his style because he's not trying to take the hits to get his body worn down. It's actually pretty smart. He can run that way if he needs to. Say on a 3rd and short, if he needs to use his body to get through for a strong run, he can. which goes back into him being also probably one of the more versatile backs in the league. He could run in any style that he wants to, but he chose a smart one by going agile so that he avoids taking these hits. He avoids taking so much damage to his body and whatnot. So I do think he's going to last a bit longer in the NFL than people realize. And then I don't know if you've seen any of Saquon's pics on Instagram or Twitter, but the dude has gotten even bigger this season. Like, he looks bigger than he was last year, which is crazy to think about. His biceps and triceps look bigger. His quads, which were already the size of a tree trunk, look bigger. His calves look bigger. He looks like he's just been working out all offseason.
Yeah, and, you know, they made the joke right there, Edward Chan, about let's compare thighs. Okay, let's not. Saquon Barkley's thighs are the thing of, like,
bro,
legend.
My quads are probably the size of his calves.
Dude, my chest is the size of his thighs. It's ridiculous. And, like, that was the funny part is there's been making the rounds recently. Some people were sharing that, like, John Jones was squatting. Do you know who John Jones is?
The name is familiar, but honestly, I don't.
Professional MMA fighter.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I recognize it from commercials and stuff.
Yeah, people have been tweeting out that he's been squatting. You know, they're showing this video of him repping out 225 pounds like it's nothing, and then him maxing out at like 500 pounds. And I'm like, why is this a big deal? To most people it is, but I've been watching the videos of Saquon Barkley repping out 495 pounds.
Exactly. What is his record? Actually, no, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull up Saquon Barkley's weightlifting record, bro, because it's actually crazy to think about it. Let's see.
Like, why is it impressive that he's doing 225 12 times? I saw Saquon Barkley do 495 8. You know?
Let me see. This is from SB Nation, but this is also from 2017. So this is actually 3 years ago, and you know he's improved since then. So in 2017, he was doing 405 power cleans, and this is when he was 222 pounds. And obviously, well, how old was he then? Probably like 18.
Jeez. He also benched 390. Dear God.
And you know he does more than that now. I would love for the Giants to post like what he's actually doing now, man.
You know why the Giants don't want to post that?
Why?
Because we don't want Saquon Barkley trying to max out.
Okay, that's true. He hit 525 on squat back when he was 18, 525.
Yeah. And in engraven vids, I agree. Could you imagine Saquon Barkley on a better team? I was talking to some people and I was
100%.
Like, I feel like
a better offensive line. He's running for the MVP every year.
I feel like Saquon Barkley is. I hope that this changes. The Giants are improving a little bit, but as it stands right now, Saquon Barkley is going to be this generation's Barry Sanders. Like, dude, the guy rushes for 200 yards, but they lose the game. Like, and I hope the Giants keep improving.
Listen,
I think we're better this year than we were last year.
I don't even want to say that for fear of the universe saying, "All right, bro, you just said that it's gonna happen now." But because I genuinely do think the Giants are improving, especially with the O-line, and you talk about you getting Andrew Thomas and whatnot. I genuinely do think the O-line is improving, but you got a very strong point. He can end up being Barry Sanders in more way than just his running style.
Yeah. And Edward Chan just commented, shocking to think we could have had Lamar, Josh Allen, DK, and Dexter Lawrence.
Could we? If last year, so Lamar 2018, we had the second overall pick. So are you saying we take Lamar Jackson with the second overall pick, and then in 2019 we take Josh Allen with the sixth overall pick, DK would probably the 30th as we trade back up, and Dexter? That would be, I won't lie to you, that would be actually pretty great, but our running game would still be trash.
And our offensive line would still be trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we would probably still take Hernandez in a second because he's only talking first-round picks here. 2020, we'd probably still take Andrew Thomas. Those were really good.
We wouldn't be in the position to take Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, we would not be in the position. If we have Lamar, Josh Allen, and DK on the team, we're not picking. They would definitely win some games. 100% they would win some games, but the offensive line would still be bad. And the running game, and I'm not saying when I say you, I'm not speaking specifically to you, Edward, but people do forget, like, the Giants' running game was legitimately trash in 2016 and 2017. Saquon Barkley, you could argue if he was the right pick, but it was a need. It was 100% a need. We entering 2018, we had like probably the 30th or 31st ranked running game, and he single-handedly fixed that. You could have fixed it by just going all offensive line and getting an average back, but Saquon did single-handedly fix the running game.
And we talked about that, and a large part of it was because we used a first-round pick on David Wilson, who couldn't stay healthy, which was one of the guys we talked about with their really bad picks in the Jerry Reese era. I do want to say I don't love the teams like we could have had Lamar Jackson talk for the people picking in like the top 10, because it's not like the Bears passing on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, nobody was thinking Lamar. Nobody was considering Lamar to go top, which is, looking back on it, hindsight being 2020, probably every team that needed a quarterback regrets it 100%. But it would make more sense if, say, you're a team around where he was picked. He was picked 32nd. It makes more sense if you're arguing for a team that was the late 20s, early 30s.
But a lot of them
than a team that was at number 2 and nobody was considering him at the top 5.
Yeah, it's not like the Bears passing on Patrick Mahomes, who was a top prospect and went 10th. It is Lamar Jackson was the 5th best prospect in a strong QB class
at the time.
And at the time. And I'd still argue that as good as Lamar Jackson is, and I think he's going to be great, he's improving every year, he landed in the right situation with the Ravens, and I think Ravens will agree. Because if he was put onto a team where he was forced to be a pocket passer, I don't know. I don't think he would be the star he is. I think like the Bills would have loved him because there's
a whole conversation about what teams would actually want him to be their quarterback, because not a lot of teams wanted him to be a quarterback. Everybody wanted him to be a wide receiver or a running back. There was only a few teams. You say like the Bills, I probably think the Bills would be one that would allow him to use his style of the game. You talk about the Ravens, obviously. There was only a handful of teams that legitimately believed he could have been a quarterback in 2018. And I forgot, there was something else I was going to bring up. Yeah, you bring up the perfect point where he landed in a great situation, the perfect situation. It's just like Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes goes somewhere else. We're not sure if he has the success he has because he immediately clicked with Andy Reid. He immediately became Andy Reid's, jewel in that offense, in an offense that was already high-powered with the weapons because of Andy Reid. And, it's Patrick Mahomes also landed in the perfect situation. And you already know Ravens are hoping that, hey, man, next year they bring home that Super Bowl, just like Mahomes did in his third year.
And they've
very much a chance.
And they've proven it time and time again with different players throughout history that where you land makes a big part. Because, people forget Brett Favre was not drafted by the Packers. Steve Young was not drafted by the 49ers. Mostruf, no one thought he was any good with the 49ers, the running back, until he finally got a chance. He was very good last year. So a lot of it does fall onto the pieces around you, because Sammy Watkins, I still don't think he's that good of a receiver, but he was terrible in Buffalo. Then he goes into Kansas City where you've got more weapons, and all of a sudden he's a really good receiver.
He was okay at the Rams too, I think. He went to the Rams first, and he was okay there, and then he went to KC. There was a team, I want to say it was the Rams, but there was a team he went to before where he actually showed improvement, and Casey was all right. We'll take a chance on him because he's a speedster, and that's what their offense is built off of, just pure speed.
Yeah. Yep. And it worked because Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball 100 yards, so no one's outrunning his passes. But it sometimes just certain teams don't. It's not a good fit for you, and so and people do forget that. I think that. That's why in today's day and age with social media and stuff, I think lots of teams give up on quarterbacks too quickly.
I honestly don't know how exactly to approach that because I'm half and half with it. I'm half and half. I'm like, you got to give these players more time. There's teams that give up on quarterbacks after a year or two, and I honestly think with any NFL rookie, you got to give them at least 3 years before you know who they are. Rookie year, you could throw out the year. They got to have a really good one or a really bad one. Sophomore year is where they start adjusting to the fact that the NFL is adjusting to them, and then I think that third year they level out. So after 3 years, that's usually my rule of thumb. Give them 3 years and see what's up. But then there's the other half that says quarterbacks are simply better now than they were before. They're simply coming in with a lot more preparation, and they're coming in with a lot more experience in an NFL style of offense and all that than they were beforehand. They are just better and more prepared coming into the league, which is part of the reason they don't sit. And I think I've said this before. I used to be against them not sitting, and I still think it can benefit them, but I don't blame teams if they don't sit quarterbacks because they usually come in with a good amount of experience. So it's like, if you're coming in with all that, knowing that you are better than previous generations that actually had to, wait for their turn and learn, there's going to be a certain amount of expectations with it. Say they would expect you to have success earlier than, say, that previous generation of quarterbacks. And that's where I definitely disagree with it, because I'm like, they're not robots. Some of them are certainly going to have success earlier, but some of them are going to struggle. So it's definitely half and half on it.
I agree. And it makes it tough. It makes it tough. But I do think sometimes people give up too quickly. I think Teddy Bridgewater is the most recent good example. And you are right. We talked about that because I wrote an article about how rookie quarterbacks, if they do better than expected, they tend to have a sophomore slump, but most rookies do better in the second year. Mm-hmm. And then your counter was that it was going so far back that maybe you should be looking at a smaller sample size, and then you go into statistics if that's a large enough sample size for it to be statistically relevant. But you make a good point, because the college guys are starting freshmen now. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence in Justin Fields, and they're running pro-style offenses. And by the time they get to the NFL, I mean, there's a lot of people that think Trevor Lawrence would have been,
bro, just off his rookie year. There's a lot of people that's like, he's going to be a great success in the NFL.
Yeah, they thought he would have been a top 5 pick, and they think he could go in the NFL and start right now. And that was not the case with college quarterbacks, even as recently as
even as recent as Cam.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking like Vince Young. Cam's a good one. He was not running a pro style offense. He came in and he struggled a little bit, and he's just such a freak athlete that he got by. But I think now with his injuries, he's got to learn how to be a true pro quarterback to have a chance. And I'm wondering, do you think he's going to be, and I'm thinking more from a fantasy perspective, but do you think he's relevant with the Patriots?
I think he's going to be fine with them, because it's funny. On my Young Guns podcast with Kid Blue, we did an episode probably a night or two before he was announced that he signed with the Patriots, and we were talking about where should he sign, and I was like, he should sign with the Patriots because it's going to be the best fit for him. And it's something that I've held since about the moment he became a free agent. I was like, all right, the best team for him is going to be the Patriots, because, and this is a phrase people love to throw around, it's the best scheme fit for him, but it's actually true. There's no other team in the league that is currently a good scheme fit for Cam, because in 2018, I think, where he had the shoulder injury or the shoulder surgery or whatever, and he had to completely change his throwing motion, essentially become a different quarterback, and that Norv Turner offense that people said he was going to fail in because it's so different from what he's used to. Yeah, it was exactly the offense you just described. He has to be more of a passer than anything. In 2018, before he went down, and when he was adjusting to that, changing his throwing style and everything, the dude had the Panthers at 6-1 or 6-0 or something, and he was on pace to be MVP that year before he went down in 2018. He looked unstoppable in that offense, and where Cam Newton looked like a different quarterback. It was Cam Newton 2.0, the new version of him, where he's focusing more on short passes and quick passes, and he did that amazingly. So I was thinking about that the moment he became a free agent. I'm like, the team that loves to do that, and I see Ingraven just commented it, is the Patriots. They are the team that suits him legitimately, because people forget that in 2018 he changed the type of quarterback that he was. They forget he had to change his throwing motion for the sake of his shoulder and all that. Yeah. The team that fits that is the Patriots. He's not going to be putting a lot of strain on his shoulder because he's not going to be doing the bombs like he used to when in his prime. He still is in his prime. I shouldn't say that. Earlier on in his career, he's not going to be running as much as he used to, because when he changed the style of quarterback that he was, he stopped running that much because he knew he had to if he wants to preserve his career. And the only offense that matches that is the Patriots. People were saying, oh, he should go to the Colts. I'm like, nope. They're going to make him bomb it down a little bit. They're going to let him take chances. He should go to the Chargers. Nope. The only team that made sense was the Patriots. So I fully expect, if he's healthy, for him to have a great season with them because it was like the match made in heaven for me.
And I didn't even think about that. You're 100% right with all that. I never thought about how often the Patriots do use the tight ends, the running back, and good route running receivers like Julian Edelman. They love to get those quick hits out and just let people run around in the open field. They love to try to spread the opposing defense out wide and do a lot of those quick hits to the tight ends, quick hits to Sony Michel or James White, quick hits to Julian Edelman. The only time they really were a deep ball throwing team was that, 2 to 3 years there when they had
2007 Randy Moss, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're talking about recent years where they had to now adjust to what they are with TB12, Tom Brady, and then let's even if they weren't, you know what I'm saying, even if they weren't a perfect match for Newton that way, you're talking about one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL with the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. You're telling me they can't adjust? Like, are you really telling me they can't adjust? That's what the Patriots are known for. They're known for adjusting to their players, not making players adjust to their system.
And the other thing is, like, he's not going to be asked to do as much because they have a great defense. The Patriots have an unbelievable defense. And I wanted to give a quick shout out. Engraven Vids just shared our video. So thank you for doing that on YouTube.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Notification as we were talking, and I'm like, nice. All right. I guess I got to go and make sure I subscribe to him after we end today.
100%. Everybody, like, you guys should totally check him out. He's like, and I think I said this when I first discovered him, the style of his videos, it's very simple, but it catches your attention so well. I can legitimately sit there and, like, for an hour watch just straight Engraven. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I just went and subscribed. I see he's got 27,000. So he's definitely one of the big dogs. So thank you for coming in here and giving a lowly guy like me, even lowly compared to the Hub, who is going to be a big dog in the very near future.
Working on it.
You know, I love talking to you because lots of times when I talk to Giants fans that I'm friends with and stuff, or other football fans, they just don't know as much about the Giants. They aren't following it. With you, I'm learning stuff about the Giants. Like, I was talking to a Giants fan the other day, and I was wearing my Eli Manning jersey, and she goes to me, she's like, I think he's still got 2 or 3 years left.
Really?
Like Eli Manning?
There's people that don't know he retired?
I'm like, Eli Manning? She's like, yeah, I know that they drafted that Daniel Jones, but I don't like him. I think that Eli's going to win back the starting job. I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I just kept my mouth shut.
That's actually crazy to think, but that's like the super casual. That's like a different level of casual where you don't know that the dude retired. Like, I could understand regular casual saying, like, they don't like Jones yet for whatever reason. I could completely understand that. It's been 1 year, maybe they didn't watch the rest of the season. But super casual to the point that you don't know the legend retired?
Because they don't follow football outside of football season.
I mean, I guess.
Like, I got legit. So, like, I legit got friends. Like, I've been asking them, hey, you guys ever want to come on the podcast? They're like, I don't really follow fantasy or football until closer to the season. Like, for fantasy, I've done like 10 mock drafts. Mm-hmm. I'm on Giants Wire every day. I watch a handful of your videos. I've watched some of the Kid Blue videos. I watch a lot of the fantasy footballers. So, like, for me, like, I don't go a day without consuming some type of football content. So It's nice to talk to somebody that I'm actually like, he knows more about the Giants than I know.
It's only with the recent stuff. I'm pretty sure you got me when it comes to older stuff.
That's an age thing, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure your exact age, but I think I'm like
19.
10. Okay, so I just turned 32, so I'm 13 years older. And
that's a good amount of difference right there.
And actually, I would say I was a bigger Giants fan when I was in college than I currently am.
I can completely see that. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's just, I can see that. I can completely understand. I'm a bigger fan now than I was when I was in high school, and I'm sure I don't know if I'm ever going to be a bigger fan than I am right now. So maybe 10 years down the line, I'm probably going to be a casual fan just because I don't have as much time as I would right now.
I wouldn't call myself a casual fan, but
Yeah.
when the Giants won the Super Bowl in 2007, I shaved my head and bicked an NY in the
Oh
back.
my God. Do you have any pictures of that?
I do. I do have a picture of that. I do.
Jeez,
I will
that's
have to put
hardcore
it,
to the max.
I will have to put it in the comments after the video. I could name the whole starting defense and offense. I knew everybody. I remember that was the year. I'm pretty sure that was the year that Justin Tuck came in, and people were like, "Who's that guy?" I was like, "Justin Tuck. He'll do okay." When we moved,
Exactly. And then like he was honestly, if there's one other person I would consider giving that 2007 Super Bowl MVP to, it would be Justin Tuck, if not Eli. He absolutely wrecked the Patriots offensive line.
yeah, it was his third year, but he hadn't been a starter. We had been playing Humaniora.
Yeah, OC and Strahan.
Yeah, and then we moved Humaniora to outside linebacker, right? Pretty sure that they moved Humaniora.
I don't know if he was outside linebacker, but he basically became a rotational piece.
Yeah, and he was one of my favorite players. Strahan was one of my favorite players growing up. I absolutely love Strahan. I love Humaniora. I love Tuck. I just remember these guys so much. And yes, in Graven Vids, that is love. I'm not going to lie. A lot of kids picked on me as I was walking around my college campus. I was like, somebody bet me I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right,
I'll do it.
And, I was so sure that the Giants were going to win that this was the bet. If the Giants won, he had to pay for my dinner on like the Saturdays. So like we'd get pizza or whatever, me and a bunch of my roommates, and I would shave an NY for a month. But if the Giants lost, I had to shave NE into my back of my head. And the Patriots were undefeated, and I was like, they're going to beat them. They're going to beat them. I don't know why. I just felt it. And then I was sweating, and then Tom Brady had the ball.
And then listen, bro, the unsung hero of the 2007 Super Bowl or 2008 Super Bowl, the New England Patriots cornerback that dropped that pick from Eli, and then the play after was the Tyree catch. The unsung hero. Jesus, people forget that they dropped pick that allowed the magic to happen.
I don't forget that. But you know what people also forget, though, is I always say that canceled off the pass that went through Steve Smith's hands on the slam.
Yes.
And then hit his foot, and the Patriots picked it off, and we were in field goal range.
Mm-hmm.
So we should have settled with at least 3 points.
I agree. And then Edward, I'm the same right now. He says, I think I've never gone into the Giants as much as this year. Same here. And obviously part of it is because for the channel, but I've never, ever gone into the Giants as much as this year. Would you say you're going into them more this year, or was 2007 still that year?
I think I'm probably on par this year. And the reason is because
it's a new hope. Is it the new hope with DJ and the coaching staff, or like what is it?
It's me. This is been my outlet. So like I left a job that I was working a ton of hours at. I had my wife had our daughter, so there's just been a lot of busy stuff going on in my life. So like, me and my wife kind of had some conversations, and we decided to figure out some outlets. So for me, like getting back into football, getting back into what I love has been my outlet. So that's why I've been really into it. It's just been something to like do for me, because the last few years I haven't done much for myself with like working a lot, buying a house, getting married, having a daughter. And
it's definitely super healthy that you're now finding it.
Yeah. And I don't have as much time, obviously, as the hub spits out 2 or 3 videos a day. I might spit 1 or 2 videos a week.
That's if there's topics. I mean, yes. I'll admit, man, past couple weeks, it's been more like 3 videos a week, but I can't exactly force. That's one thing I try to avoid. I don't want to force content. I've been trying to avoid that.
And I want to say to Edward, I could see the Giants being 500 this year. I I don't think they're bad.
Yeah, my official record prediction I think was 7-9. And if that's if everything breaks right though. I think if everything breaks right, we go 7-9. I think at worst we're probably going to be another 5-11, 6-10. But that's the range I'm looking at. That maybe 8-8, but I really think 7-9 might be the ceiling for this team. And hey, I wish they proved me wrong.
You know, they got a lot of good young talent. They had a great draft. So they definitely could prove you wrong. The other thing is they could prove the experts right. A lot of the experts aren't very high on them too because of the fact
especially
that
with this offseason and everything being new for them.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be a very very interesting season. I'm high on them. Obviously, because I'm a Giants fan, I'm going to be positive, but I don't think I'm unrealistic. I know that their ceiling is probably 8-8. I think they're going to hit that ceiling. Their floor, though, could easily be something like
it could easily listen. Their floor,
3-13.
I would say 3 because we're going to get 2 wins against the Redskins no matter what. That's a given. And it's not even a joke. We always just whoop the Redskins. The Redskins cannot get a win against the Giants. So it might sound like a joke, but their floor is not going to be 2. They're going to find a win somewhere else. I think their floor is like 3 wins.
So 3 wins, which is not great by
it's not
any
great. Yeah.
imagination. Here, I am going to share my screen for everybody that was asking for proof.
Let's see it.
There you go.
Oh my God. The head is completely gone. Look at that. June 24, 2008, man.
Yep. You got the you can see the shaving cream right there. They took the picture right as they finished it. This picture didn't go up right when it happened. We did this
I'm assuming months before.
No, we did that. We shaved it the minute the Giants won.
Oh, okay. You got ready immediately.
Yep. I'm going to turn the screen share off.
Oh, we're back on now a wide formation. But I do have to tune out soon, Dan.
Yeah, I'm getting there too. So I will I'll give everybody a quick oh geez, get out of here. One of my friends from college is telling me to show some other pictures.
A green dress. We're going to have to talk about that in the next episode.
No, we're not going to talk about that ever. All right. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. You got Dan here, 5 Wide. Eden, who's also on the channel, just came on and posted some stuff in the comments. And we also
providing that sweet content.
Yes. And we've got NoName, another episode of the amazing, fantastic Giants. You want to give a shout out with anything that you're doing recently?
I would say this is actually general NFL since we have like a nice mix of different fans in here. Recently, I put out a vid on 5 quarterbacks that have something to prove in the NFL. I would like for people to go and check that out.
I watched the first part. You talked about Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean the thumbnail is actually Sam Darnold, and the caption for the thumbnail is he a bust? So yep. I mean, I got 5 QBs on there. I think they have to prove something this year, and I completely invite you guys to, your comments, whether it's you're agreeing with the list or disagreeing. Maybe somebody else should have been on there. And shout out to Kid Blue RB27. I see he's tuning in as we're ending the stream. Kid Blue, another great Giants content creator. I run the Young Guns podcast with him. I guess shout out to everybody that tuned in. Edward, been here from the beginning. Engraven, another great content creator. And thank you guys for watching, man.
Yeah, thank you. And everybody, if you could share my video, help me grow a little bit. I'm very new in this space. It would be very much appreciated. And I've been told that I have to get on your channel here sometime soon, Kid Blue. And I think that Engraven videos, I do I do a lot of fantasy football. So I think maybe we should have one video where we could bring you on and we can talk about the Ravens and their fantasy outlook.
Yeah, for sure. We could chat about that and see what could happen.
All right. Well, I think we'll call this a night.
So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we're out, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that went well.